Hello, everyone. Welcome to the City of Healing, where the city resides within. This is Sanette Nurture Angela, and I hope that you all are having a beautiful, marvelous Monday. And I wanted to come forth and just do a brief review on the movie Harriet. I love movies, not just because, it's something to do, but I love the cinematics, I love the drama. I look at so many things looking at movies. So, going to see this movie Harriet, even though there was not so good reviews on this movie, I still was drawn to look at it. And so, I don't know about anyone else, but when I go to the movies, I go to be entertained. And if I relate to the movie, that's great as well. But mostly I go to be entertained and not educated. If I want to be educated, I read books or go to a person or a source that I know that have the most, that I believe to be accurate. And as we know about history, history has been tainted. Has history been tainted? How much of reality about history is actually the real deal? Do we really know what's true? Do certain aspects of what we've been told really exist about African Americans, about race relations? Did it actually exist? Did you hear from it from your mother or your grandmother? Or do you actually live it or witness it? It's much to say about history that can also be her story or their story or our story, and the twist and a plot and a perception and analysis or romanticizing or fantasizing about what one has been told. And I really didn't actually grasp the concept of something that one of my middle school teachers did for us, and also in high school, and then at a party, and then in college, etc., etc. But this particular teacher started off like this. He took 10 of the students, put them in front of the class, and he wrote something on a piece of paper, didn't tell us what it was. He told everybody to turn around except for the first person. And what he wrote on the paper, he turned it over on his desk in front of the whole class so nobody could see what was there. And he told us it was something very simple. But basically, what he wrote on the paper, he wrote on the student's back and told him and the preceding person to write the same thing on the back. Anyway, after that little project was finished, everyone was told to turn around and write what they felt was written on their back on a blank sheet of paper in front of them. Long story short, when he turned his paper around and everybody else turned their piece of paper around, it was totally different. Maybe he drew a happy face. Some people drew a rabbit. Some people drew a line. Some people drew squiggly. Some people drew a house. Some people wrote names. Some people wrote a sentence. It was just amazing at the different things were translated from one simple thing that this teacher wrote on this piece of paper and asked them to translate on the back, written, pretend to be written on their back. And I always got a kick out of playing that game because there was always the wrong thing and nothing like what was originally written. And that's the same I feel for history. So with this movie, Harriet, Miss Harriet Tubman or Moses, when I go to the movies, I go to be entertained. And the movie itself was fine, but I was not disappointed at a lot of the things that were shared, where perhaps as we've been taught were not accurate, or we read was not accurate. And they did their job. You can do that, and make move people do it all the time, believe it or not. Even the most recent stories that we have now are seeing in the movies stem from another movie way back in the day. I don't know the name of it, but I'm sure if you're thinking about it, you can do that as well. You take those movies from stories that you read a long time ago, or movies you've seen a long time ago, or even history. People do it all the time. And they get inaccurate information. They put their own information in it. They romanticize it. They fantasize it and make it their own to entertain. So I was not disappointed or angry with that. I kind of expected it, actually, because it was for entertainment. And, there's so much that could be the truth that we don't know about the story of Harriet Tubman. And, there's always some truth in a lot of different fantasies or stories that we consider are inaccurate, some truth to it. But the movie itself was not the best movie I've ever seen, but it was very entertaining. The plot was interesting. I thought it was very interesting that they made it more, I believe, a spiritual, the way we are coming back to tying spirituality into our lives, not just about religion, because I feel religion is something that can be taught, but spirituality is something that we all have, that connects us with each other and divine, but and nature specifically. But this movie had a lot of spirituality that Miss Harriet Tubman used to help her to conquer these great feats of rescuing herself from slavery as well as others. So I could greatly identify with that aspect of it. But like I said, it wasn't the best movie I've ever seen, but I enjoyed it. I was entertained. They did what they set out to do, make a movie, and people do it all the time. And I was pleased that the acting was okay. Even though the movie was long, I believe that it sufficed at, carrying out the plot and keeping you drawn into the different characters and watching her throughout the movie to complete the story that they were trying to get us to follow. So I appreciate that aspect of the movie. And overall, I felt heartfelt. I felt a connection. And I appreciate, of course, the story of Harriet Tubman, whether we will really, really know the full story. I don't think we will, but we do have a piece of her story. And I thought one of the most profound parts of it, that her last words, they say, were, "I go to prepare a place for you." And that's exactly what she did, paving the way for us all to accomplish great things and to make sure that we are connected with our higher selves, our spirituality, and everything that we do to help ourselves and others. And I thought it was also interesting that they had the song and the preacher at the beginning telling us to listen to the master and hold on to the plow and to conquer. Now, a lot of people will have a negative connotation to that, but there's different aspects of how you can receive it. At least I did. Of course, not analyzing, the master as a slave owner. Of course not. That not being the master, but basically holding on to the hardships that we have and conquering them, and to keep our eyes and our ears plugged into source, or some of us say God, to conquer our greatest feats. I would not relate that to any human being as being a master, of course, but that was a very interesting thing. And if you go see the movie, I don't know if you're gonna see that it's related to the story that you know of Harriet Tubman, but as I mentioned before, I myself go to a movie to be entertained. And if I want history, I read a book, I research, I go to different sources to get that information. I was not angry at the person that produced or directed the movie. I thought the acting was fine. I thought the actress was fine. Not the greatest movie of the year, but I do so much appreciate the movie, and I identified a lot with the spirituality aspect of the movie. It was entertaining. It was a long movie, and I didn't get bored, and I appreciate the movie. However, as I mentioned before, I'm very interested in cinematics and drama, etc., and making of film and movies. So it was pretty good. Another movie that I was very, very entertained by was Terminator. That movie came out a couple of weeks ago. That's a very good movie. I like fantasy. I like action. So superheroes, etc. But that movie was really, really good. I was really engulfed in that movie. But anyway, that's it for now. That's what I wanted to share. The Harriet movie, like I said, was a very deeply, profoundly spiritual movie, something that I can relate to. The storyline was long, although it was captivating and interesting in helping us identify with the character and the history of the great woman of Harriet Tubman. And I would recommend it. But like I said before, don't go to a movie to be educated. Go to be entertained. And that's what they did. Anyway, thanks for visiting the city, and I hope that you all have a beautiful rest of your Monday. Take care.